I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Dearborn Public Schools Board of Education for November 9th, 2015. May I have a roll call, please?
Miriam Bazzi.
Here.
Joseph Guido.
He is going to be absent.
Fadwa Hamoud.
She is as well going to be absent.
Mary Lane is present. Michael Mead.
Here.
Mary Petchlikoff.
Here.
President McDonald.
Here. Before we get started, I just want to apologize for the late start. We had several meetings going prior, and they ran a little bit long, but they are important nonetheless, so we needed to give them our full attention. Go ahead, next item, please.
Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Ms. Kristen Waddell, principal of Whitmore Bowles Elementary, will introduce students who will lead the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening. My name is Christy Waddell, and I'm the proud principal at Whitmore Bowles. I'd like to thank the Board of Education and Dr. Maleko for this opportunity. I've brought 3 amazing leaders with me tonight to lead us in the pledge. I'd like to introduce Basma Al-Badani, Anissa Tomas, and Ray Taha.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well done, thank you. Now, if you come up here, I have something for you. Oh. We're running late. Give me just one quick second.
Good job. That wasn't so tough, was it?
You guys did a great job.
Great job. Want some water?
No, your name.
Oh. Does that look like my name?
She was at the end.
I appreciate your patience. Okay, we have Anissa. There you go. Well done. Thank you so much. And Basma, good job. Thank you very much. And Ryan, good job. Thank you. Oop. May I have the next item, please?
Superintendent's update, agenda items.
So before we get to that, I would like to ask us, it seems like we're doing this every month, but to observe a moment of silence. We had the passing of last month Sir Michael Berry. I know several have attended the funeral ceremonies from the school district, so I'd like to observe on his behalf. Also, we had the tragic death of Ryan Whiston, the son of our former superintendent for Dearborn Public Schools, current state superintendent. I know, again, many of us attended the proceedings there. So if we could just keep our thoughts and prayers with the family, appreciate that, and I'll just ask for a moment of silence. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'd also want to make an announcement. You heard President McDonald mention that Trustee Hamoud was not here. Well, we have some positive news, the birth of her daughter on October 30th. So thanks go out to Ali, Hattie, their son Hattie, her husband Ali, and to Fadwa on the birth of Julia on October 30th. So that's some positive news that we can celebrate here, and we congratulate all of them. And that's why she isn't here, obviously, today. So
And mom and baby are doing well.
doing very well, yes. Okay, agenda item announcements. I have retirement, Lisa Bittner, 26 and a half years of service. And then I just have one mention on an agenda item. The report on the focus schools is not necessary, so we will not have that today. It was under under reports, and we're not going to go through with that. It's not required today. And go ahead. Yeah. That's it.
Well, I was going to ask you, and perhaps you want to do this at a different time, Superintendent Maleko. I'm hearing a lot on the news, the new state teacher evaluation. So I know it's something that we'll have to deal with. I think the
Sure.
state legislature just passed it, and I heard some of them saying that teachers don't have to worry at all about it, but I know that people do obviously worry about their evaluations, and so I'd like to have an update from you either now or perhaps
Sure.
you don't know now. I mean, you could give us some idea what it actually involves, how it compares to our own evaluation, which you labored long and hard with our union presidents on. So I don't know
Sure.
whether you feel that you can comment now, otherwise perhaps a later report.
Yes, actually, it's ironic you mentioned it because I was prepared to comment on this. I've been following it so we will have a report on this in February on the revisions to the new tool that we're implementing. What I can say to you is that, we're fully compliant with the current legislation that was just passed. I actually spoke to Representative Durrani, and I recommended that he support the bill. We've been waiting for it to get passed and signed by the governor in about 4 years. You might remember several reports over the years. One of the things that it does do is it creates, I think, fairness, accountability, and it also is a little more reasonable for our faculty on the 25%, what we call student growth measure. And that will phase in over 3 years up to 40%. It's going to give the state, we don't have a reliable state system right now. And so this gives us some time to phase it in rather than jumping to 50%. Under the previous legislation, we would have been at 50%. We do not have student growth measures right now in place. More so from the state level, we're working on our measures, as you're going to hear in a report today with the NWEA. So I think it's really a positive move. It also allows for some local control. But the tool that we are using is one of the tools that will be accepted as a reliable, the Danielson 2013, so we're already ahead of the curve. I would tell you that as a district, we pride ourselves to think in the evaluation, and we're always looking to improve, but we're not only ahead, but our leadership, we're ready to implement, and we're aligned with the current legislation. And we're happy about the joint process, as you mentioned, that we partner collaboratively with the teacher union. It also involved the administrator tool, and we're going to look at three separate, Ms. Ali Bazzi and her committee are going to look at three separate tools that are recommended by the state, and we're going to analyze that and see if we want to adopt one of those three recommended tools. But we still have the ability for local control. We do feel, though, it's better to go with one of the state-approved models just from a reliability, validity point, and so that's what we're going to be working on over the next couple of months. To go with that, I could just mention that we're also monitoring some possible legislation on the third grade reading bill that passed the House, and it has not passed yet through, but I'm monitoring that because it does have a mandatory retention provision in it. And then I'm also monitoring the concealed weapons legislation that is in a committee right now through the Senate, that they're talking about replacing the open carry with the concealed weapons. We're asking, and I've spoken to Representative Durrani about, maybe some local control and some opt-out provisions, because we have a policy in place that we work with the police if something like that were to occur. So we're monitoring that legislation as well.
And hopefully there won't be any, I haven't heard this, but there was a roads bill passed and there is a shortfall of money. So, yeah, it's a significant amount, $600 million. And I don't know where you find that, but I hope that it will not be on the back of Michigan's children and Michigan's teachers, because we've had many, many cuts over the years. And Finance Committee just met tonight, and we'll have a report on that. But we've had big problems with having any mid-year cuts, and we cannot sustain it.
I agree, and we're going to monitor that along with the solutions that they're discussing in Detroit, because that will impact other school districts. So that's why we have to be fiscally sound. You're going to see our budget report tonight on the audit, but we still have to, be cautious with decisions we make and making sure that we're having that balanced budget, because we never know the volatility. 2010, we had mid-year cuts after the fact, and we had to prepare for that. And so at the time, some of the fund balance we had to go into as a rainy day fund. Now we're building it back a little bit, and you're going to hear that tonight. So we want to continue to do that and be fiscally responsible.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Citizen participation. Citizens wishing to address the board on an agenda, non-agenda item for action who are signed in by 7:10, submitting a blue card may speak at this time, but I do not have any blue cards unless Mr. Mustonen tells me differently, which he's not, so no citizen participation. May I move ahead?
Please.
Approval of minutes of the following Dearborn Board of Education meeting. Regular P12 meeting, October 12th, 2015, Board Report 1544. Make any necessary corrections and move approval of these minutes.
So moved.
Support.
Are there any corrections or additions? Nope. Hearing none, I'd like to attach a unanimous affirmative vote, please. Next item.
Recognition and acknowledgements. Commendations. Here tonight to read the commendations are Celine Abdullah and Alia Serini. They're both seniors at Dearborn High School. Congratulations.
Exciting times for you.
Yeah. Although we are well into the school year, it's important to recognize that every year there's always plenty of last-minute work being done to get schools ready for the first day of school. This year was even a bit more challenging for those working at our elementary schools that opened new additions, specifically those at Gear Park, William Ford, and Henry Ford, where staff members spent extra hours preparing classrooms for the start of the year. Teachers at Henry Ford were in school during Labor Day weekend, making sure all were in order opening day. Commendations to all of these hardworking, dedicated staff members. Great staff, just one more reason our district is such a special place. Commendations to Dearborn Public Schools employees, media tech specialist Gordon Scandal, and STEM coordinator Mary Verity for their efforts to arrange Dearborn Public School students to talk with an astronaut aboard the International Space Station on October 27th. We were one of the 15 schools across the country to be selected for this program. Mr. Scannell was responsible for taking this rare, one-of-a-kind opportunity to Dearborn students through the amateur radio on the International Space Station program, ARISS, which promotes learning opportunities as part of the Science, Technology, Education, Math, STEM initiative. He volunteered many hours arranging the technical details for the program with NASA and ARISS. He also set up a large antenna on the roof of Michael Berry Career Center and used much of his own radio equipment that enabled students to speak with an astronaut on space station as it passed within communications range. Mary Verity, the district's STEM coordinator, worked with Mr. Scandal to make this event possible. Together they worked with other members of the Amateur Radio Relay League and school principals to provide lessons and activities tied to the event. Students in the first through 8th grade submitted more than 2,000 questions to ask the astronaut. More than 2,000 questions were submitted, but due to limited time before the space station passed out communications range, only 18 students were selected to ask their questions. Commendations to Mr. Chris Kenningberg, who was instrumental in developing a new module for Moodle. He worked in partnership with Wayne RESA to gain funding and support to develop the social world course format. Not only has the module been adopted, but recently the social world course format was rewarded the Reviewer Choice Award from Moodle.org. The award is given to the plugin guardians and reviewers for particularly useful, well-coded, and otherwise interesting plugins. Commendations to Don Ball, Director, Maintenance and Safety, who has been inducted into the University of Phoenix, Metro Detroit Alumni Association Wall of Success. Mr. Ball received his Master's in Arts degree in Management Education from the University of Phoenix in 2002 and is faculty member for the Detroit campus. Mr. Ball is currently completing his PhD at Capella University, where he has been inducted into the Delta Mu Delta International Honor Society of Business. To be inducted into the Honor Society, Don maintained a 3.75 GPA in his PhD program. In January 2016, he will complete his dissertation titled Exploring Leadership's Business Cultural Assumptions and Practices Within the Higher Education Industry and Influencing Graduate Employment Success in the 21st Century, and an exploratory qualitative inquiry. Commendations to Rolla Bazzi Gates, school social worker, for receiving her PhD from Wayne State University. Her dissertation was The Effect of Arab American Parental involvement in school-based and home-based activities that support the academic performance for their children during the elementary years.
Those PhD dissertations are amazing.
Do you want to hear mine?
We're a little nervous.
Enthralling.
Okay,
Thank you to the Dearborn Federation of Teachers for donating a free book to each child in one elementary, middle, and high school classroom. This is the third year in a row that the DFT held a drawing that students could enter to win books for their classmates through the First Book Classroom Giveaway Program. Students entered the drawing when they visited the DFT information booth at the Dearborn Homecoming Festival in August 2015. The winning students were Kira Donner, who won books for Miss Frizzle's 6th grade English class at STEM, Shelby Tucker, who won books for Miss McGattery's 9th grade English at Dearborn High, and Xavier Lipe, who won books for Miss Cisco's 2nd grade classroom at Long Elementary. Commendations to district bus driver Patricia Prolks for her efforts in representing our district at a recent job fair. Patricia did an excellent job of jumping in at the last minute to spend the day working the fair to recruit drivers to our district. Commendations to Oakman students who raised $400 for the Dearborn firefighters burn drive. Their donation will go to help a burned or sick child or family in need. During Fire Safety Week, children in the lower elementary wore red or pink, and the whole school joined the firefighters for a photo. Thank you to Tohamas Inc. and DBA Hamden Cleaning for donating $250 to McCullough Eunice School to be used for math games and materials for the school's McCullough Eunice Family Math Night. Commendations to the Henry Ford Early College and McCullough Elementary for being named State of Michigan Title I Distinguished School Finalist. Both schools submitted applications to the Michigan Department of Education Office of Field Services that demonstrated their commitment to positive change in the school and an increase in student achievement. Commendations to the Lebanese American Heritage Club, a nonprofit human services organization, for distributing more than 350 backpacks filled with school supplies to students at Salina Elementary in September. Also, thank you to the Dearborn Police Department for bringing a police vehicle for display at the backpack distribution event and handing out safety tips and other crime prevention information for children and families. Commendations to all of our student athletes for a successful season of fall sports. We know athletics plays an important role in the overall development of a child. It offers many valuable lessons. We want to take a moment to recognize our high school athletes for their success not only on the field of competition but in the classroom. Commendations to the 390 student athletes at Dearborn High who wrapped up the fall season with an average GPA of 3.45. These 390 students participated on 20 different teams this fall. The lowest team GPA was a 3.15. The varsity football team, with 53 players, averaged 3.47. Commendations to Etzel Ford's student athletes who averaged a 3.38 GPA. All teams except for one were over a 3.0, with the highest team GPAs going to the girls cross country team, who averaged a 3.97, and boys cross country team with an average of 3.67. Commendations to the 271 student athletes at Fortson High School who wrapped up the fall season with an average GPA of a 3.34, with every team above a 3.0. The lowest team GPA was a 3.12. The boys and girls cross-country teams had the highest GPAs for all teams, with a 3.62 for the boys and a 3.72 for the girls. And that's it.
Well done.
Thank you.
That cross-country motion must get your brain
I was going to
really
say,
going.
must get your blood flowing, because running and grades.
Exactly. Probably. I have to add one that I was just so thrilled by when I first heard about the School Life Challenge, Battle Against Hunger, and that both Dearborn High and Dearborn High and Fordson had participated in. I knew it would be a successful event, but when I heard that over 40,000 cans were, food items were raised, it just blew me away. I had to listen to it again because I thought, that's incredible. But once again, it just shows you our students' commitment to helping their communities and doing a great job. So just fantastic all around.
I have one more to add too. We talked about the ISS space station contact. I happened to be there on that event. It was very exciting, and there was that window of opportunity of contacting the space shuttle. And I know that, or the space station, excuse me. I know the students were so excited that they got to actually question, the astronaut during that time. But I want to mention you can watch a video of that on the contact. It was put together by Eric Shigfree, and I just want to thank him for his hard work. I know him and the students at Dearborn High are actually the ones taping the superintendent talk show that David's hosting, Mustinen's hosting. But again, he did a great job with the video. It's on the YouTube, and just wanted to thank him and all the students for participating in that.
And can I say, I saw the news report about it when it was occurring. The only unfortunate thing was that they talked about it being a school in Dearborn Heights, which led to the impression that it was a Dearborn Heights school, not Dearborn Public Schools. So I hope that we make sure that everybody does. We continue to get the word out that it was one of Dearborn Public Schools that was able to engage in this event, and not just because we're located in a Dearborn Heights setting.
Campus, yeah.
Yes, that we were not a Dearborn Heights school.
Anything to add? Well done. Next item, please.
Acknowledgement of donations.
Okay, I have a long list here, so bear with me,
Yes.
please. Donation of $145,000 has been offered to Dearborn Public Schools by AK Steel Corporation to be used to assist in funding of air conditioning at Salina Intermediate School. A donation of a Hunter Wheel Alignment unit has been offered to Dearborn Public Schools by Heritage Collision Incorporated to be used for training in the auto lab. A donation of $2,020 has been offered to Etzel Ford High School by Mr. Ibrahim Beydoun to be used for the boys' basketball warm-up suits. A donation of $2,100 has been offered to Etzel Ford High School by the Dearborn Education Foundation to be used for heart monitors for physical education students. A donation of $1,805 has been offered to Duval Elementary School by the Dearborn Education Foundation to be used for a building laminator. A donation of $600 has been offered to McDonald Elementary by the Dearborn Education Foundation to be used for avid readers for a new classroom library. A donation of $2,000 has been offered to Nowlin Elementary School by the Dearborn Education Foundation to be used for problem-solving math workshop for kindergarten through third grade. A donation of $1,078.28 has been offered to Gear Park Elementary School by the Dearborn Education Foundation to be used for listening centers for 6 new classrooms. A donation of $2,500 has been offered to Howe School by the Dearborn Education Foundation to be used for special education technology applications for iPads. A donation of $1,500 has been offered to the Department of Student Services, Effective Education and Family Support Services by the Dearborn Education Foundation to be used for Religious Diversity Journeys program for middle school students across the district. A donation of $290 has been offered to Eunice Middle School by the Dearborn Education Foundation to be used for the Academic Games program. A donation of $1,000 has been offered to Long Elementary School by Cherry Hill Lanes as a grant winner of Bowling to School grant program through the Kids Bowl Free to be used by the school for the students. That's it, 12 items.
I just want to mention that we really appreciate the generosity of everyone who donates to the schools, and appreciate overwhelmingly the support that we get from the Dearborn Foundation. Trustee Lane?
I was going to ask for it later, but since you're mentioning it now, a long list of donations. Perhaps by year end, they could give us a summary of all the different monies they've dispensed throughout the year and a total of all that they've distributed this year.
The foundation you're talking
The
about?
foundation,
Okay.
yeah.
Sure.
Wonderful. Next item, please.
Other?
No other?
Special reports, P12 audit report, Dr. Glenn Maleko, Mr. Thomas Wall.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, and Dr. Maleko. The state of Michigan requires us to do an annual audit annually. We have engaged Plant Moran to do that audit for our June 30th fiscal year end. I want to thank the fiscal services, business services staff, Elaine Starrett and Joanne Wade for preparing for the audit, and also special thanks to Linda Kempton for coming out of retirement to help us also to get ready for the audit in the interim of the business managers. So I'd like to introduce Teresa Pollack and Tom Marchese to present the audit.
Thank you very much. It's our pleasure to be here this evening. We previously met with the Finance Committee and walked through the audit materials in some detail, and then we've distributed out a slide presentation that has some of the financial highlights as well to drive the discussion. There are 3 official published audit reports that come out as part of the audit. The basic financial statements for the district, along with the accompanying audit opinion. The federal awards report, which deals with our testing of compliance with laws and regulations over the federal award programs here at the district. And then a summary report to the board that contains required audit communications about some of the qualitative aspects of the audit and some of our observations on recommendations, and then informational items to be aware of as you're navigating all the legislative and accounting changes and funding changes that are continuously coming your way. So I'm happy to report we had a very, very good audit process, and the opinion that we're expressing on the financial statements is unmodified. Unmodified is that's the best we're allowed to give, so that indicates we believe that the financial statements are free of any material error and that they do conform to all of the required generally accepted accounting principles. And then within the A133 testing, the Title I program here at the district was tested for compliance, and we did not identify any compliance violations, and so also have an unmodified opinion there. That report also does contain some commentary about a couple of internal control items, which we have discussed with the Finance Committee as well. So, the first slide in the package, this is an interesting year for all public schools in that there is a major accounting standards change that's gone into effect called GASB 68. And so GASB 68 it requires all Michigan school districts to, for the first time ever, present their proportional share of the state underfunding of the MEPSR's retirement system as a long-term liability on your financial statements. So for Dearborn, your allocated share of that underfunding is a $300 million liability. And so it is, it's a very dramatic financial reporting change. It is included in the audit opinion as an emphasis of matter. So despite the bad news, you are not alone. All Michigan schools are required to make this change. The other good news I would say is it does not affect your decision-making level at the general fund level. So when you're approving your budgets annually, you'll still be required to contribute at the contribution level annually, but in this government-wide full accrual statement, it is a pretty dramatic effect. We are told that it isn't generally going to be impacting bond ratings for public schools, that, the bond community was already aware of the significant underfunding at the state level, and so that this really is not new news for them. So the next slide that we have, this is just a depiction of what this does for the financial picture of the district. So off to the right, you see the consolidated fund level, assets, liabilities, and net position or fund balance. And you'll see that fund balance on a combined level is about $55.7 million positive. And that does include all of the assets that are in your bond fund right now as well. The government-wide, when it is reduced for that $300 million pension obligation that's now presented as a liability, presents a deficit net position of $171.2 million. And that same measure last year would have been a positive $118.4 million. So, very, very dramatic effect on that. So we'll move then just into talking a little bit more about the general fund, since that's the primary operating fund of the district. So at June 30th, the total assets in the general fund were at about $48.1 million. The largest portion of that, at almost $33 million, would be the receivable balances that you're due from the state at June 30th, and that will arrive at the district in the following months. And you had about $11.3 million in your cash and investment balances. The current liabilities presented in your general fund were $35.4 million. The largest portion of that, about 50% of that obligation, would represent the accrued payroll, really the summer compensation for all of the staff at the district who have concluded giving their service before the June 30th year-end date. The district has about a $7.5 million balance outstanding on its line of credit that it has to borrow for cash flow purposes to make it through the summer months as the state aid lags. And then the remainder would be other accounts payable. Now, shifting gears and looking at the revenue and expenditures in the general fund for the year. So this has a comparison to last year, so you'll see your total revenue this year was at about $188.9 million, up about $10 million from last year, which majority of that would be really attributable to increased enrollment at the district. The blue portion of the pie, 92% of the pie, would be your foundation allowance, and so that is generated both from your local property taxes as well as the funds that come directly from the state. And you really have no discretion for increases, even at a local level, for changes in that. What the state will provide to you is what you need to learn to live with within your budgetary constraints. And then you'll see the other portions come from some federal sources and interdistrict and other sources. The next slide takes a look at the expenditures within the general fund. This year, the total expenditures were about $184 million. That's about a $10 million increase from last year. The yellow portion of the pie, 61% of the pie, that would be described as instructional expenditures. So those would be direct classroom costs, and I would say achieving anything northward of the 60% mark generally is a measure that you are spending as much as you can in classroom activities as opposed to other supporting activities. That green portion of the pie, the supporting services of 37%, that includes all of the operations of the district, your heat and insurances and supplies and all of the other supporting activities that would be administrative in nature, both at the building level as well as central office. The next slide takes a look at your expenditures, and it groups them a little bit differently instead of functionally on instruction versus support services. This slide shows the percentage of the general fund budget that's actually allocated directly towards staff costs. And you'll see 88% of the spending here at Dearborn is going directly to staff salaries and fringe benefits, with just 12% left for other services. Now the next slide, this is a historical depiction of the changes in fund balance within your general fund over the past 5 years. So this year for 2015, the revenue exceeded expenditures by about $2.7 million, which added to fund balance. And you'll see you've been either slightly positive or negative over each of the past 5 years. And then this last slide, also deals with fund balance, and it equates your fund balance as a percentage of your budget. So you'll see it as you finished 2015, your general fund balance came in at about 6.9% of your annual budget. State average for last year was about 9.5%. One of the measures that's really important now would be the state's early warning legislation. And so that is triggered when your fund balance levels are below 5% and you go into heightened fiscal monitoring at a state level. So last year you would have been within that 5% trigger. This year you have been able to elevate out of that early warning trigger, which is a very, that's certainly a positive thing and a measure that we think you'll need to be attentive to as well, to be able to maintain local control as opposed to having any intervention imposed from the state level on the choices that you're making. So those are really the highlights, but we would be happy to respond to any questions that you might have about the audit process or financial items.
Any questions? Trustee Lane?
Editorial comment, I'll just channel trustee Guido, he's not here, but also trustees past, and say to our employees, we're showing almost a 7% fund balance. The point of a fund balance is, as we know, to hold us for rainy days, a gym floor that goes out, payments, continuing payments to employees during the summer. So we do want to increase that to about 17 million so that we can carry ourselves through the summer without borrowing money and having to pay that. That's just, it really hurts to pay interest when we've balanced our budget and we've been attentive, but we need a $17 million fund balance in order to do that. I'm also very cognizant, as I know everybody, I probably speak for everyone else, in saying that we know that some of our salaries need to be raised. Our incoming teachers, that's a concern that a lot of younger people don't want to go into education. Our salaries for entering teachers are not great. We know we need to raise that, and we all support education. We support people getting a fair wage. We're just trying to be cognizant that we don't want a state emergency manager here. They haven't done great jobs other places. We don't want them here. We think we've done a better job. So all things balanced, we've done a good job so far, and we're going to continue to try to work toward increasing our fund balance. So I appreciate very much the sacrifices that all of our staff have contributed to make this 7% fund balance possible. I know we've hired quite a few new teachers, Superintendent Maleko, and I was going to ask you about that. We have a lot of hires on our agenda, and I love to see that. I love to see that we're hiring bus drivers and noon hour attendants. But noon hour attendant to get paid for 1-2 hours, $8 an hour. We're really struggling to get people to fill some of these positions. So it's just an editorial comment, and it's the state of education today, but we really need to do better. So,
Well said.
Thank you, Trustee Lane. Dr. Mead? Trustee Mead?
Thank you. Why is it $1 million less expenditure for capital outlay in 15 over 14? Does that have something to do with the bond?
I think that that's probably a good observation. With the issuance of the bond, the majority of the capital needs at the district this year have been able to be paid through with bond funds as opposed to
So that
general
helps the
fund.
fund balance.
It does, because you're always going to have, major capital items that are needed,
Okay.
Beyond construction of buildings. And so when you don't have an active bond fund, that has to come from the general fund dollars.
Thank you.
Any others? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. And we do wish to express our appreciation to the business office staff and all the district staff as well. We put them through the ringer. They worked very hard, and they did a very nice job preparing for us and tolerating all our poking and prodding. So thank you.
Thank you very much for the service. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
CTE program, Dr. Glenn Maleko, Ms. Shannon Peterson, I think it's Dr. Winifred Green, isn't it?
Yes.
Dr. Green, Mr. John Barrell.
Doctor as well.
Oh, is it doctor? I didn't know. I'm surrounded by doctors here.
I don't know, should we all get our list of our these long dissertation lists out on library?
Yeah.
Hello, Superintendent Maleko, President McDonald, and trustees. November is Career and Technical Education Month, and we appreciate you allowing us to briefly share with you what is going on with CTE in our district. Dr. John Barrow has prepared a short presentation related to CTE in Dearborn Public Schools. John.
Thank you, Dr. Green, Dr. Maleko, President McDonald, members of the board. It's been a long day, so I'm going to try and keep this very brief, so I apologize if it goes fast. As Dr. Green mentioned, it is National and State of Michigan Career Technical Education Month, so I just wanted to drop in and kind of let you know what we're doing in career and technical education here in Dearborn. My title in the district is CTE Perkins Supervisor. My job is to support, promote, and grow our CTE program, so it's something I'm passionate about, and I'll show you what we got here. So I just went to a great meeting, and they told us, always tell your story with data. So I just threw together some real rough statistics here. Dearborn in blue, State of Michigan in red, and something I'm calling Program X in green. This is English language proficiency, and this is last year's ACT results. Math, and the one I'm most proud of, 4-year graduation rate. If you can see this Program X here, those are students enrolled in career technical education in Dearborn. We're very proud of the success we get. These are not the home ec and shop classes in the 1950s we sometimes think about when you hear that. These are high-skilled, high-paid, high-demand job programs that we teach here in Dearborn. So,
could you list a couple of those programs?
I have a slide of that coming right up here. Absolutely.
Thank you.
So what are career and technical education programs? They're more than just electives for high school. They're not just something to take when you're not studying. They prepare college and career-ready students. That's our mission. Get them ready for college or a career. They have to be, according to the state, highly skilled, highly demanded jobs, and they have to be high paid. And we like to say we prepare the students of today for the jobs of tomorrow. Here's a quick slide. These are our current state-funded CTE programs, not classes, programs, a series of courses. So if you look at the Michael Berry Career Center and also at the 3 traditional high schools, we have a variety of things: auto shop, business classes, hospitality, information technology, health sciences. There's a few asterisks on there. Those are approved programs that we have but are not running this semester for one reason or another. Trust me, that's my job. I'm working on those asterisks. We're going to erase a couple every year until we got them all off there. So what makes us different? So they're year-long or multiple-year programs. Like I said, we're not those little electives, I want to try something, put my toe in the pool things. We're kids are going to get in there and work through a program, a rigorous program. Give them some skills and get them ready to go out there. We prepare them for entry-level positions in their career field. Every year out of our medical assisting program at the Michael Berry Center, we get a lot of kids who go out right from there and get jobs in medical offices, and they come back and tell us how easy their nursing program or pre-pharmacy program is because they had that experience with us, and they're working and they're going to school. We do prepare students for post-secondary studies. We all know that come right out of high school and make $100,000 a year working in a factory days are over, right? It's going to take some more education or an apprenticeship or an internship or something. So we're preparing them for those after they leave us kind of things. CTE teachers, and we talked about how hard it is to get introductory teachers in here. You just mentioned it, it's perfect. Our teachers have to hold an occupational teaching certificate, often, like myself, in addition to a standard teaching certificate. We also have to document 4,000 hours, that's 2 years of employment in the career field before we can get that occupational certificate. So it's real tough in the state right now to hire an auto teacher, because if you're ASE certified and NATEF certified and you've been working for 2 years, you can make $60,000 or $70,000 easy working at any dealer in the state. So it's getting very difficult to get these teachers. In addition, our CTE teachers all have to do professional development related to their career field, not the professional development we have. They have to go do others. Our auto teachers, right now are doing some NATEF certification stuff. They're going to professional development meetings and getting up to date on how to be a good auto mechanic, not how to be a good teacher. So they have to keep current with that. We are required to meet with advisory committees. It's a fancy word for getting together a bunch of people from the community, and especially a bunch of people in the career we're teaching. So we have these large advisory committee meetings. We get together and they tell us, hey, you need to teach this, or you need to stop teaching that, or wow, this is a real problem, or hey, this new cool thing is coming out. We value our business partners and we're always looking for more. We have a large advisory meeting at the Michael Berry Career Center coming up on December 10th. If any of you are free, I encourage you to stop by and see. It's a really interesting kind of organic conversation that goes on. We schedule it for an hour, and it takes 3 every year. So, career tech ed programs do follow a very rigorous curriculum. If you want more than you ever wanted to know about them, that website, ctenavigator.org, you can go on there and read for hours and hours and hours. I just pulled down the auto ones. It's my favorite example here. There are 438 standards you have to teach in an auto program. 438 separate things the kids have to be assessed on. We group them together into what we call segments, which you don't need to worry about, but every class is 12 units, if you want to think of it that way. And if you look here, it's everything from engine repair to brakes. And it almost always carries things like career-ready practices and transportation logistics and things like that. It's what do you need to know to get a job. We just went to an excellent professional development last week or the week before, and SEMCOG spoke there, so Southeast Michigan Council of Governments. She had the best quote of the year. She said, right now, businesses are hiring based on your technical skill. They're firing based on your soft skills, on attendance and cell phone use and whatever. And so they're really identifying that. All of our students are required to do work-based learning, everything from a field trip, which is the minimum requirement. Very few of our teachers do that. Most of them will do a job shadow, volunteer experience, externships. We right now have some students working with Troy Patterson, and they're helping set up the Chromebooks for the district because there was a real shortage of IT people, and hey, we had an IT program, so that's been great. All of our students join student leadership opportunities. They can be student government or volunteer, but most of them will do HOSA, DECA, BPA, Skills USA, if you're familiar with any of those. Really big deal to them, and it's the thing. It's the one thing they talk about remembering about our programs. All of our programs offer some sort of certification. We just got Microsoft Certified IT materials free for all of our business classes, so we're offering those. So they come out with some kind of thing they can put on a resume and take out and get a job. All of our programs are required to offer, we call it articulated college credit. This is a partnership with a community college or a college where when they finish our programs, they get college credit for the classes they've taken. We really expanded on that last year, and in fact, Dr. Green and I and a few other people have been on the ground floor with a group called MICEP, the Michigan Concurrent Enrollment Program, which is really looking to be the governing body. Think of it as like a school improvement plan, but for these cooperative agreements. All Dearborn courses, students get between 1 and actually 20 in some of them, college credits for completing our program, not just showing up one day, but they have to actually complete it. So as we said, November is CTE month. We have 2 big things coming up this month, and we'll have things coming up every year. We are going to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of the dedication of the Michael Berry Career Center. It seems like yesterday. We've been there 10 years.
Wow.
So do that. And then over the summer, Dr. Green and I were talking about sort of what are the next 10 years going to look like, and that became, well, we should have a short and a medium and a long-range plan for what we're doing. So we've sort of started a strategic plan of our own. And so you will probably hear back from us from time to time, an update as we reach out to the students and teachers and business people in the thing and all of our other stakeholders. So with that, it's our 10-year anniversary, and you guys get to unveil the very first ones. We have these wonderful Michael Berry 10-year anniversary shirts for you. We guessed at your sizes.
That's not mine.
You can give that one to Miriam.
From the CBE at the Michael Berry Center. So with that, thanks for the time. We appreciate it. And
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Yes.
Everybody.
Trustee Bazey?
I think this is absolutely great. It's a wonderful program. I guess I didn't know a lot about it, so thank you for coming and sharing the information. I know that we have the college, Henry Ford College, which has a lot of technical type programs in it as well. Is there collaboration with the college or maybe visiting of students over there? It seems to be makes
There's
sense.
some, and it's definitely, as we talk strategically, something we need to leverage because we should be the best in the state, right? Because we share buildings, so
Yes.
it should be easy.
Trustee Lane?
Yeah, I'm curious about the trajectory for students going in, whether you have a fall off. Our students, I can see you're not understanding my question, but they are they coming in at 10th grade mostly? And then, do you have a fall off of students that kind of sample the class and say, no, I can't do auto shop?
Historically, even before the Michigan Merit Curriculum came into effect, our target was juniors and seniors.
Oh, okay.
And that is still where we get the majority of our
Uh-huh,
students.
okay.
Due to some of the modifications to the Merit Curriculum last year, students can begin to take some of these advanced, in particular CTE courses, a little bit earlier. So we do have a full cohort of 10th graders at Michael Berry now this year.
And they're doing very well
They
this
are.
year, because
They are.
I think the counselors really worked
Yeah.
hard to get them in there. We're trying to avoid a kid graduating who's taken 6 classes that all start with Intro 2.
Right.
Because we feel like we've captured them in the CT world and then never got them anywhere. So we're really trying to get them into a planned program of study and get
Yeah,
up into
and they
the
can see
good
the
values
payoff,
stuff.
and I'm
They
just wondering, is
can.
what's the number? Do you have a number of students that start in your program and then
And
end
we-
up continuing and getting their
We
certification?
have those numbers. You know, we would like to have more second-year students than we do, but I could get you the exact data on how many are continuing a full program.
And it's definitely an area of improvement. You know, you're going to have fall off every year. We would like to get more and keep them straight through and not let them, you know, wander into something else or whatever. And so as we talk about a strategic plan, that's one of our big topics is those educational development plans. We just
Well,
heard the new
it's
stuff.
important for kids to
Right.
learn what
Yeah.
they don't like as
Right.
well as what they do.
And sometimes we have fall off from semester to semester, particularly those kids that come to us as seniors and they might fail the course 1st semester and they need those academic core courses to graduate, and that might take priority as well.
Trustee Massey?
I'm sorry, I have another question, I guess, off of Trustee Lane's question. What are the requirements to get into the program? Is there a GPA? Is
No.
there? No?
Really, it is supposed to be aligned with the student's EDP. If they have a career goal that they have identified, that they are interested in a course, and they can afford to attend based on what their EDP looks like, they can afford to be away from their school if they're coming to Michael Berry to be there for 3 hours a day. You know, generally, they can attend.
But you mean afford time-wise,
Yes.
not money-wise?
Not money, no,
Yeah.
time,
Yes.
time.
Yeah.
Exactly. There was no money
cost,
involved.
No money.
No cost.
Trustee Petrichor?
I noticed that the old school of the skilled trades, like electrical, construction, which we know that there's going to be a resurgence of demand because we have a lot of retirees coming up, and those are highly skilled jobs that have a very good pay, generally speaking, until prevailing wages kick down the can. That being said, are we not incorporating those for a particular reason into this?
Well, they exist. We had a really good machine tool. In fact, we had one of the best machine tool programs in the state. We lost our certified instructor. He went to the college, actually, and we were never able to replace him. And so that program isn't running right now. I've been looking at all the courses we could offer, and obviously skilled trades, I hear it all the time. The talent pipeline is empty. You got to fill it. You got to fill it. You know, it's something we'll look at.
I understand our new state superintendent is looking at relaxing some of the requirements to be able to push teachers into some of these positions without, you know, some of the stringent requirements that might currently exist.
And we're just trying to encourage kids who have an interest in those fields. You know, we know if the students get vocal and demand those programs, we'll find a way to have them. Right? So we're starting to hear more and more students who are coming up saying, I want to do this. So
Okay,
I'm
thank you.
hoping we'll offer more options for them. Like I said, I can only grow the program.
A couple of things that I want to add. I have heard from different districts around the country and parents in those districts that say, you know, we don't offer these things anymore. And I said, we do here, and you can, and there's ways to make it successful. So I know that that's the buzz around the country, and once again, I'm glad to see that we're leading the way. My son in particular has welding right now. He's a 10th grader. He absolutely loves it, and he thinks that he will incorporate that somehow into his career choice. So it's so important, and when a child at that age can find a passion, something that they really enjoy,
wonderful.
and that they know that they have a chance of really making a go of a career and a good life, I think it's just fantastic that that's something we're able to offer. Trustee
Can
May?
I follow up on the welding thing? Because how does that work with the college? The college has a welding program, you guys have a welding program, is there any connectivity there?
When we talk about those articulation agreements,
Yeah.
usually, and actually, we're actually going through the process of getting Edsel Ford's welding program approved as a CTE program right now. Actually, as soon as I get your signature.
So it's at Edsel Ford, it's
So
at.
Yes.
Edsel, well, we have welding in 2 of the 3 schools, but they're,
And Dearborn.
to get them to that next step and to get the whole program, it involves a few other little details, but we're gonna get Edsel Ford approved. At that point, we'll meet with the people at the college, and they need to talk about, they'll pull down from that website, they'll pull down the welding curriculum, they'll look at theirs, and there's a negotiation that goes on, and they say, well, if you graduate that program and you come here, we'll give you credit for welding 1, and you can start in welding 2.
What other programs could we connect with the college?
The sky's the limit, really.
Oh, I mean, of what you have right now.
Our health science does feed into
Okay.
health sciences at our
Hospitality.
IT program. Our hospitality is the best
Hospitality.
one. I think they
Okay.
get some
They get-
ridiculous number of credits, or 16 or something. Our business programs give them a basic intro to business class, because there's so many different business majors, but at least it gives them that one class to get in. And it's something that we're, like I said, we're working on. We had some really minor check-the-box kind of agreements last year, and we worked really hard with the college and got some good, solid agreements in place last year.
Trustee Peschikoff?
How is this going to fit in with the new 5-year degree program that we have coming online shortly, that's similar to the,
The manufacturing.
yeah,
That's specific to
manufacturing, yeah.
manufacturing, and like Dr. Barrow said, we don't currently have anything we're offering.
So
K-
this won't
No.
conflict, they'll be going off on something completely different?
And part of that's staking out there are 2 different funding sources to do those. It's staking out which ones fit best under which funding source. You know,
Okay.
The 61A and B, it's my life right now, finding those things out. But, you know, if they're going to be excellent at that, and they got a great partnership with, I think it's Ford Motor Company and
And the college.
yeah, so you do that. I get a list of all the programs that are open for new programs next year, and I'll gladly share that with you when they come up. I mean, there's things, we don't have teachers, so we can't offer them, mechatronics and agriculture and whatever, but, you know, there's always programs and always room. And that's part of our advisory committees. When we get together, they'll look at us and say, boy, you really got to offer, I can't hire. And that's where we go with
That's a
that.
stumbling
I
block.
believe also if a student finishes all that we offer here,
can go on.
they can go free of charge and take a class at the college if we do not offer a class here. Is that correct?
We have a lot of dual enrollment students in here, and
Yeah.
we've tried to stop competing with dual enrollment and started talking to kids and say, take our program and, oh yeah, dual enroll in a related course. You're taking accounting, take personal finance at the college, or, you know, whatever. So we're trying to get them to see if they can put those together to make an even more robust and more meaningful thing, you know.
And we do run into that from time to time, you know. Once we have exhausted all we can offer, they do go on to the college, take those classes.
Wonderful. I am going to give a plug right now, since we've been talking about this, for Bon Appetit, because they are open, I believe, now on Wednesdays and Thursdays and Fridays.
Fridays.
And they're open for lunch. I go there occasionally
You do?
myself with my husband and friends and family. What a wonderful place to have a lunch, and it's very, very affordable.
Reasonable.
Especially if you come on Thursdays
Thursday.
now for a buffet.
Fridays.
We've moved them from Friday to
Thursday.
Thursday.
Okay.
That's the one change.
So I just wanted to send that out to everyone in our audience. If you're looking for a nice, and you get treated wonderfully, the students do an
Students
excellent
do a great job.
and the food is fantastic, and you can get a really good meal for 2 for like $15, and that includes the tip, you know? So it's fantastic. Thank you so much, Dr. Barrow and Dr. Green.
Thank you.
Was that?
Thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Continue the great work.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Testing and preparation, Dr. Glenn Maleko, Dr. Jill Chokel, Dr. Kathleen Klee.
Good evening, Superintendent Maleko, Madam President, and members of the board. Bring this down. My name is Kathleen Klee, and I'm Director of Assessment Research and Evaluation. It's my pleasure to share with you what's up with assessments tonight. You should have 4 handouts. This PowerPoint, the state testing schedule, general information about the M-STEP, and the district assessment plan.
Okay, we seem to be missing the general information about the M-STEP. Yeah,
This
that
one?
one.
You seem to
Yeah,
be
I was
missing
just
that?
wondering about that
I
as
don't
well.
see it either.
I'm sorry. I provided it. All right, thank you.
Maybe
Um,
there's some.
y-
Is this
It is on my assessment iBlog.
okay. No, that's okay. It's testing.
We're not going to look at it in detail,
Okay.
so
Well, there
you
you
should
go.
be fine. You know, you should be fine.
We'll pretend we're looking.
Yeah. How many of you seen the movie Up?
Oh, yeah.
Wonderful. If you recall, Carl Fredrickson, the main character, is the older gentleman whose wife has passed away, and he is still living in his treasured home that he had since he married his wife. His lovely home is going to be demolished by the city, and Carl is being forced out, so the city can build another skyscraper. Carl creates a plan to leave before this can happen, and takes off ballasted by thousands of balloons. Unknown to him, a young boy named Russell is on his porch as he takes off. When Carl discovers Russell, he cannot believe it, and he wants nothing to do with him. However, Carl cannot go back as he sails off in his house, and he has to let Russell into his life. The two eventually become friends through a series of good, exciting, and difficult times. I thought this movie was analogous to the highly adventurous quest that we have begun with the changes and transitions in assessment. In with the new, out with the old. This will be our first year to go online as much as possible with the state assessments and ease out of paper and pencil tests. Not only is paper saved, but we will eventually be able to assess more quickly, more efficiently, and have results almost instantaneously, unlike this year. And the results will be able to be used for instructional purposes and improve learning for all students. Now, take a look at the testing schedule for summative assessments. This one. If you recall last year, we moved from testing with the MEP in fall when students were tested on the previous year's standards after potential summer loss. The new M-STEP came out, and it was available online and paper pencil. We opted to take it with paper pencil due to changes in our data network and possible connectivity issues. This year, we will take the M-STEP in grades 3 through 8, and 11. Online, we will also take the WIDA Access 2.0 online, and even some MyAccess students who are cognitively impaired will take the tests online. We're going to go through very briefly secondary, middle school, and elementary testing. This year, The MME in 11th grade will consist of the following: the SAT with essay, ACT work keys, and online M-STEP science and social studies. Last year we did the ACT, but the SAT has been redesigned and students will take the SAT and also get a free SAT score for college tests. The Michigan Department of Education is grateful to all involved with last year's successful administration of the MME and M-STEP. The building and district results will be available in the very near future. Everyone's, including students' diligent efforts helped make it as successful as it was. Much feedback was provided to me during the testing from our schools, as well as from my own children taking the tests in public schools. I passed along concerns and recommendations that have hopefully led to an improved testing environment and experience for our children this school year, as I'm sure you heard a few comments along the way. According to MDE, as with any new product, we know that there is room to improve our assessment system. After the administration of last year's assessment, MDE solicited feedback through surveys, focus groups, and from key stakeholders. Brian even called me on my birthday in August to have asked some questions about the testing schedule. It was critical to MDE that they heard from the users of the assessments so they could improve the experience for students as well as educators. The two concerns that stood out were that the assessment process overall took too much instructional time away from students. And also, the overall student testing experience was too long, especially in English language arts. In some cases, it took 5 or 6 hours. We are all hopeful that the modifications they are making will help this spring. From those surveys and contacts, the state reductions at 11th grade include that there will no longer be an M-STEP English language arts or mathematics component. And this reduced state required testing time in 11th grade by up to 8 hours. We are making some changes in the testing. 9th and 10th graders will take the PSAT, which is the pre-SAT. Some of you probably took the SAT many years ago. The results of these tests will not be used for accountability purposes to evaluate districts or schools. Something different that we did this year was we offered all 11th graders the PSAT NMSQT, which is the National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test. Previously, a very limited number of students took this test on Saturdays. They had to pay for the test. So we had, maybe 50 to 75 students take it across the district. And this is kind of a beautiful thing that all students have this opportunity. And I'm hoping to hear the results very soon. And I'm hoping more students will qualify for scholarships. At the middle and elementary levels, most students will take the online M-STEP. Students who require accommodations will use paper and pencil. Only 5th and 8th graders will take a writing assessment on the M-STEP, so this reduces the test quite a bit. In fact, it reduces it by 2.5 hours for 3rd, 4th, 6th, and 7th graders. English learner students will take the online WIDA Access 2.0. And then functional students will take the MyAccess online, and supported independence and participation students who are more severely cognitively impaired will take paper pencil assessments. Locally, of course, you heard that last year we implemented the NWEA, which was a good run-through for us with online testing. We tested in the fall, the winter, and the spring, and we've also tested this past fall. And we had our glitches and our bumps along the way, but overall, It's working fairly well technologically. These tests replace the common assessments in math, reading, and science. We are also doing a number of tests created in social studies for kindergarten through 5th grade at the elementary level because they're not offered in NWEA. And we are tested in social studies on the state tests, so we need to do a local assessment there. This is being done online for the most part through a new system called DNA Illuminate, which was purchased this year by Wayne Risa. And it's going through its bumps technologically. At the middle school and high school levels, there are end of the unit assessments. And now if you'd like to take a look at the district assessment plan, this one. This handout is by grade, and it's a little too much to go over tonight. We'd be here till midnight. And it's going to be reviewed by the District Assessment Committee for further reductions, corrections, updates, and modifications. Optional tests available to elementary teachers include the DRA, which was formerly required. Science common assessments are available but not required from our RISA bank. The District Science Committee is working on developing some other science assessments. Also available are NWEA skill tests that are available online. They're very brief tests, 10 to 20 questions that do not count. They're just used purely for formative assessments. Also, teachers use reading running records. At the secondary level, we have high school test outs. I will be giving those in January. We do a separate day for world languages. We offer Arabic, Spanish, French, German, all the language courses that are offered. And test outs are available for any course offered in the district. We also give test outs in May for seniors only, and we give core subjects in June for all students. Advanced placement tests are given in May for 2 weeks, and we have quite a large number of students who do those. The WIDA screener is required by the state for new students who may qualify as English learners. It is administered in the fall to new students or as they arrive throughout the school year. They must be given the WIDA test within 10 days. Here are just a few of the resources. If you go to our assessment blog, it's assessment.dearbornschools.org. The test is, I'm working on this blog, but so far we've got the various tests tabs available and more detailed information under each test on the iBlog. It's a very useful tool. I'm excited about using it. I think it'll be very helpful to students, parents, and teachers. It'll be a central location for all the testing information. There's also a running calendar, so you can see your window. There's no reason for anybody to ever miss giving a test because the window is on the blog all the time. It's also on the district website. This is our department. And if you have any questions about all the tests.
Trustee Lane?
Okay, I'm not really sure I understand this, but
Okay.
I do understand that the new state superintendent, Mr. Whiston, set a goal to reduce the tests because last year they were really excessive. I heard
Right.
that they couldn't finish all of them. I don't know how long they were running. I heard some ridiculous things, 5-6 hours. What I heard was that they weren't scheduled for breaks and they were going so long that I think maybe some kids missed lunch, but it was it was not smooth, that's what I heard. So I'm wondering, on the first page here of the assessment plan, it says, and maybe I'm reading this wrong, I don't know how to read this, third grade state test, My Step or My Access at 6 hours. So are they planning a 6-hour test for these third
I don't have an
graders?
official hourly schedule. I base that on approximately what happened and with the stated reductions that they gave on the general M-STEP form. When we take the math test, they allow 1.5 hours, and usually 2 parts over 2 days. And most students do not use that amount of time. So I was kind of, overestimating a little bit, but it's approximately 1.5 hours at a setting for math, and then reading approximately 1.5 hours, 2 parts, 2 different days.
So this is all of the tests in the 6 hours then?
Yes.
And then on the back, at 11th grade, we have state tests at 12 hours?
Yeah,
so-
again, I don't have official timing on the tests, so I guesstimated with eliminating those 8 hours that they did last year. It was very, very long last year.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just want to say that if you're anywhere near correct, or, I understand there's a couple areas you're testing on, but really, I think that a 12 hours for an 11th grader, 6 hours for a third grader, it's just way too much. We need a lot less testing than that. I mean, I think that you can figure out whether a third grader has learned math and English in less than 6 hours. So, the constant changing of the tests, the exhaustion of the teachers, the students, it's just gone to extremes. And I'm sure our superintendent will express our concerns about it, but it's just overload, and I wonder who's gaining by this besides the for-profit testing companies like Pearson. So we're paying for all this stuff, and I wonder are we just spawning an educational industry for profit, or are we using this really for the benefit of our students? Just a rhetorical question, but we really need this should get under control, because this is way too much for students we don't need this much time.
I will be glad to pass that along.
Yeah.
It is a concern.
And I would agree with you, and when I was in Lansing last month with Mr. Whiston, what I see, and I think I've mentioned here, he created some short-term relief by reducing some of the elementary and middle school testing allotments and then the high school, but he also has a committee that's looking for long-term recommendations, meaning how to change, because this is just a short-term fix, I believe. And so he has a committee that's coming together, and they're looking at what do we really need to do long-term with the assessment system. And I do agree with you. It was, out of control, the amount of testing. We've heard it from the students. I'm sure I just started the new superintendent student advisory council, and I've heard from some of them. So it's going to be a constant, but then we'll be in tune with what the students are doing through that. And so we'll continue to advocate that. I think it's in flux. And the other thing for us to be aware, and I know it was in some of the papers, when the state test scores came out, there will be a drop across the state because the cut score line dropped. So it's not going to really actually measure any specific change per se in achievement. And so you cannot measure previous school years. First of all, we have a new assessment, but also the cut line has been dropped, and that's something the superintendent, Mr. Whiston's doing. He feels he needs to do this over a 10-year period to get Michigan into the top 10. But we do need to be aware that when we see these results, the data is not reliable, meaning over a long period of time. And the second thing is when you see the percentage proficiency and the cut scores, you will see you'll see everywhere in the state, I mean, including Dearborn, because the cut score of proficiency changed. So that's just something else that we have to be, aware of.
Well, it's just ridiculous when a third grader has to take a longer test than a PhD candidate.
I agree, and I think I said that when you were interviewing me. I don't know if you quoted me or.
Yes, it's pathetic.
Trustee Bazey?
I have a couple questions. First, the WIDA, is that just for ELL? learners?
It is just for ELs.
So ELL learners would have to do, if I understand this correctly, using third grade as an example, 4 hours at NWEA, 1 hour of district writing, 2.25 hours of WIDA, and the M-STEP and the social studies?
Well, yes and no. If a student has been in the country for less than 1 year, they're not required. The WIDA replaces the ELA portion of the test.
Okay.
So ELs who have been in the country more than a year will have to take the M-STEP.
We'll have to take, okay, so they would have to do all the tests and the WIDA. And then under the testing schedule, does that mean it says 7 weeks, so they would have to take it within the first 7 weeks, or do they?
Correct. It has to be taken within, that's the testing window. They aren't testing that whole time.
Why is that an additional requirement? I guess why is it not replacing something else? Why are they being asked to take an additional test?
It's based on federal legislation, No Child Left
Okay.
Behind, with compliance for testing the ELLs, which was from 2003. And so the WIDA is the test that assesses. So the state has to administer it to keep that funding source going from the federal government.
Okay.
So the WIDA, they do not necessarily have to choose the WIDA because we had another test previously, but the state of Michigan chose the WIDA as the one that complies with that and to measure. And so again, yeah, that is one. I mean, you've seen, I know they say 1 year, but that's federal legislation. At times, I know in this school district, we've asked for opting out of maybe an M-STEP or a MEEP for more years rather than just 1 year in the country, so that it wouldn't be as much testing. But that, unfortunately, is not within our control because that's state mandate following federal rules.
I guess another question I had was, I can't remember the question now.
Sorry to disturb you.
Can I make a comment too? This is on our cabinet agenda constantly. We're aware of it. It's on the radar. I think we were discussing it today. One of our CPI teams that we're looking at with student achievement that we're working with Dr. Jensen is going to address student achievement and testing. So we're starting that process, and we want to really look at what we're doing. I will say, I know the NWA came in new, but I do believe it's a positive move for our district. We did eliminate a lot of testing because of bringing that in, even though it might not seem like it because M-STEP came and it all hit at the same time. We really did eliminate a lot of common assessment testing. I think we need to eliminate more. I was glad to see that the president actually came out and said, and I think Dr. Mead, we had some dialogue on this last week about reducing it, that he's hearing complaints all over the country. Initially, though, he was a big proponent of this, and he's changed after seeing what's going on. So I think that's positive that we're now starting to hear the rhetoric. I think they're listening to parents, to boards of education, and that we do have to do something. We can't put everything just into this testing system, and that's why it is important, but it should be one of many measures, not the only thing, and it does take away instructional time. That's why, I mean, in our district, we're proud of our school improvement process plan, where we go into schools all over and evaluate what's going on in the schools. So again, that's one measure, but at least that's a positive, that there's recognition that it needs to change. Now we just need to do it.
I thought it was great doing the NWA because it gave us a non-accountable measure for the practice last year. And my experience, I go out and I walk through some of the labs while they're testing. Most of the students like taking it. A lot of the little kids call it a game. And I've had little issues where I have to retest because the student goes over and he sees a more interesting question on another student's computer. And he's like, I want to play his game now. And they go, would you start his test over for him, please? Because he's enjoying it, and they are interesting questions. They get to move things around, and they're colorful.
I'm sorry, I remembered my 2 questions. Quick, in terms of prep, do we have any idea how much time is being spent preparing for these tests?
For the M-STEP, SAT, all those tests. Not exactly. The way they prepare, they're supposed to be following the district pacing guide in the subject area. They are not supposed to be using skill sheets, worksheets to teach the test. We don't do that. We teach the curriculum.
And we're getting the message out, too, that we are not advocating for test preparation. I mean, preparing for the curriculum, these successful lifelong learners, but not about just for that test. I know there is, though, pressures when you're looking at new online assessments. And the Khan Academy, which is out there, which is free to us for students to use, is not necessarily just tested. That's about the content and the standards. So I wouldn't say it's test taking, but it does lead towards, skills on the SAT and PSAT. But we're not advocating, and I see Ms. Peterson coming up here. She wants to make a comment, but we're...
So the directive has been not to do test prep because our good instruction should enable our students to be successful. I will tell you that last year, because the performance tasks were new, we did utilize the resources from the state on a practice performance assessment, and that was simply because it was a completely different testing environment for our students. They weren't used to that. As far as you mentioned Khan Academy has a great preparation for our high school students. We're encouraging that. We're getting the information out to the parents and the students in 10th and 11th grade, because they can actually go into Khan Academy, take 4 practice SATs. The Khan Academy will actually create a learning plan for the student and modules for them to learn and be successful at, but that is something outside of school. We're not using that in school.
I guess, my concern was, I know last year a number of teachers also were saying they were spending so much time with test prep that they didn't feel like they were actually teaching. So that was one of my concerns. So it looks like it's been addressed. And then last issue, you said these were pencil to paper tests?
Which ones?
I don't know.
The M-STEP's available in paper and pencil.
Okay.
As well as online.
Online. So there is the avenue. I know that and I don't know exactly how these tests work. I haven't taken one, but I do know that I couldn't write for hours anymore. I mean, with technology the way it is, I'm not used to it anymore. Physically, it hurts my hand. I don't know if that's... I guess my question is it available for students to take it where they're typing answers into the test?
On the M-STEP, yes, they will be typing on the online, yeah. And we did a number of pilots. I did a MEEP pilot online. I did an ALPA pilot online. And it was fascinating. I went into some of the middle school labs. The kids just loved the writing prompts. It was like, where would you go on vacation if you had as much money as you could have? And they just were writing volumes. They were sitting there typing. I just saw them spending a lot more time than doing the physical handwriting. I know even in the case of my own son, like he doesn't like to handwrite, but he'll whip up a paper on the computer and he's good, so. Yeah, that's a good question.
Anyone else? Dr. Mead?
When students take these tests online, are they timed?
No, they give kind of a window to take the test.
Okay.
I don't have all the details on how they're going to allow each, how long each segment is supposed to be given. They give an approximate time.
Is paper and pencil timed?
They give approximate window, but all students have the right to take as much time as they need on the test.
Is there an issue that students don't have the keyboarding skills to deal with online testing?
That is an issue. Even students, the EL students, for example, who come in new to the country, a lot of those students have had no experience with the computer, let alone dealing with the new culture and everything. They're exempt from that portion. Even after 1 year, I taught English as a second language and bilingual social studies and bilingual 8th grade math and things. Even after 1 year, that's inadequate. I would agree. And
how do we distinguish to say
it's
these
a real
students ought to
problem.
be paper and pencil, these students
It's
ought
a real
to be...
problem.
Okay, it's a problem.
It's individualized. The teachers have the right to indicate that it's based on their individual plan. EL students who are at a lower functioning level need to take it on paper pencil. So we do look at every single student and try to do what's right for them.
All right, another question. Henry Ford Early College is going to utilize the Compass test at the 11th and 12th grade.
Mm-hmm.
Is it normed for that?
That's a good question. I personally have not given the compass test, and I would have to get back to you on that.
All right, well, I'm just,
To see.
I don't know, I've always wanted to use that test in high schools because we use it when students come into the college, but I don't know if it's normed for 11th and 12th graders, so I don't know if the
That's a good
results would
question.
be valid.
Yeah,
All right, just something to look
I will-
at.
I will look at that.
Okay.
Anything else?
You know, I'm sorry, can I go?
Yes, go right ahead.
The standardized tests, other than the ACT, the SAT, which the results really are important for students to get into college and that type of thing, I can see people getting interested in learning as much as they can how to take those tests and how to prepare. But the other tests that are at the earlier levels in elementary and middle school, why do we have any prep for them at all? Because all we're interested in is a kind of a nomothetic kind of result that we would get some idea how the general population is doing. We're not using that to identify learning levels of particular students. We're using standardized tests at the lower level to see how the whole system is working. And then we use the formative test to see if they really know something that we taught them. Is that fair?
It's fair. Is it fair?
So, I mean, I don't know why we would do a lot of prep work for the standardized tests at the lower
We
level.
are emphasizing teaching the curriculum and not test prep. We
Good.
don't really agree with
Yeah.
that. I don't agree with that at all.
All right.
I see it as unnecessary, and it's the way.
Then when teachers say they're spending a lot of time
They sh-
prep, they shouldn't be.
They're not following the curriculum. That
All right.
we have pacing guides. They should be following the
All
pacing
right,
guides.
thanks.
You are correct.
And we're getting that message out there that's, you know, we like to invest in the formative assessments. We do feel like the NWA is a great assessment to help that individual student because we get the results right away
Okay.
and it gives reports as to what they can do with the next level of instruction. The reality with the MSTEP test is, I mean, they took it, in the spring, we still don't have the results. I mean, it's embargoed, we have some preliminary, the district's able, but, you know, half a year later, how can that help that individual child? It really cannot. So that's why we hope that the state superintendent will make some effective change with that. Having said that, we do believe that the NWA is a good way to go for our students, and it helps each individual child improve their achievement in the classroom by using those reports. And it is something new. It's our second year, but we are more excited about that. Having said that, we have to comply and do our best for you know what's required by the state.
It's required.
Sure.
Recently, I attended the redesigned SAT test training, and the emphasis is on critical thinking and reasoning. For example, they mentioned that science, there's no individual science section. They use passages about science, and there's no way to prep for that. They're expected to use these basic critical thinking and reasoning skills with the passage, with the graph, and the information that they provide on the test. They have to analyze it, reason, and provide answers. And that's what we do in real life.
Yep, critical thinking.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Sorry.
Action items, special consideration of an action item. Are there any agenda items on this agenda which board members or the superintendent wish to discuss and vote on separately? If there are, we will exclude these from the motion below.
I think there's a couple that need roll call. isn't
There's
there?
13 at least.
Yeah, 13
I don't know if there's any other that anyone noticed.
I thought there was more than one, but I could be mistaken. Was there a meeting called? or-
Yeah,
That was.
that's
that
number
was the one.
13.
13.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, I guess it was just the one then.
Number 15, do we need a
Is that
expulsion?
14?
Now that, maybe a roll call on that?
It is 15.
15. Okay. So 15. Okay, ready to go then?
Yes, please.
Okay, move that action items numbered 1 through 14 with the supplements at our table tonight be approved as recommended in this agenda with the exception of number 13.
So moved.
Support.
Is there any discussion?
If I might make a comment?
Please.
I'm very happy to see the hiring of a few new noon-hour supervisors, and especially some bus drivers.
Absolutely.
And I think it was a brilliant idea. I don't know who had the idea, but sending a bus driver to recruit bus drivers is great. Nothing like somebody who's been there to do it. So there's also a lot of teachers that are hired, and we all like to see that. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Ready for summary?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so summary of agenda action items. Do we already have a?
No.
Okay.
Are there any objections? Okay, please attach a unanimous affirmative.
Okay, summary of agenda action items. Number 1, approval of warrants. Number 2, approval of purchase of bulk road salt. Number 3, approval of retrofitting Nolan Playground to accommodate the needs of the Pohai Center. Number 4, approval of DTE secondary service commercial feeder to Nolan. Number 5, approval of bond construction change orders. Number 6 through 8, approval of non-instructional and instructional personnel items for P12. Number 9, approval of financial statement. Number 10, approval of appointment of Dearborn High Assistant Principal. Number 11, approval of MISEC resolution. Number 12, approval of high school student to graduate. Number 14, approval of donations.
Okay, before we move forward, go ahead, Dr. Malenko.
Okay, so I'd like to congratulate and call up Crystal Osinski, if she can come up to the podium here, approved as the new assistant principal at Dearborn High, if we can show. Congratulations.
All right.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me tonight.
Did you bring anyone with you?
I did. I brought my husband, Matt Osinski, and he currently works for Dearborn Schools in their skilled trades.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh,
Beautiful.
Yeah. So, thank you.
Congratulations. Glad to have you.
Absolutely.
You waited all that time.
Thank you.
Oh, absolutely.
Patience.
Going back to item 13?
Can I make one other
Absolutely.
comment? Number 13, or 3, was, and I'm sorry not to have brought this up before, but we're moving the Pohai program, physically or otherwise health impaired, I think that's it, from Lori to Nolan, and I wanted to ask Superintendent Malenko, it's almost $100,000 expenditure, so I'm just wondering when we don't have these changes a lot, but I just wonder in cabinet if you look down the road 5 or 10 years, as far as our district demographics, when we move a center like Howe School or moving now from Lori to Nolan, do we look at our demographics? Do we look at our investment? Do we look at projections for where we're going to grow? And then what other, because this is going to necessitate some busing, increased busing, I would suppose, move of the Pohai program. So I just wondered if you have a planning model for that and how we look at that. I'm hoping that we look at that. I know we have a reality of the east side schools being chronically congested, but when we look, I hope we're not going to see next year a move from Nolan to Long and Long to Snow. And so in other words, I hope that process is robust and well thought out, and I hope that your cabinet members, and I trust they do this because you're that kind of person, I hope that they're able to challenge you and say, wait a minute, is this the best use of this? I know that, that's, in my opinion, the way that we get the best results is that when people can question and challenge each other and say, yeah, I think you were right on this, I was wrong on that. So if you want to comment.
Sure. I mean, I think it's important. I know when some of the, and I know I saw Mr. Shelton up here, when we moved to the Heights campus, part of that was due to overall long-term cost savings. So I think it's just something that's important when we look at, and we're looking at budget. I do know that some of that money gets funded out of the special ed funding, so it's not coming directly from our general fund. But I think it is important that we look at those resources in the buildings, and I think it's a good point, and we'll be rigorous. Mike, do you want to come up for a second? Mr. Shelton?
Our Pohai Center program are currently students that reside in Dearborn. Prior to the move, that program had been at Lori for almost 30 years. So long-term, we don't see that changing whatsoever. We also now have a setup where they're in their feeder school, so these kids get to be with their peers as they go from elementary to middle to high. And we're in a single-level building instead of a two-story building, which is also helpful when you have students in wheelchairs and that type of thing. So it's something that we've thought out for probably 4 years, trying to find out a way to make it happen. We also had an opportunity to upgrade the building itself to make all the bathrooms handicap accessible at Nowlin and the parking lot, and busing is much better at Nowlin than it would be at Lori. So there were a lot of positives than negatives. It's just had been at Lori for a very long time. They were very used to those kids, and so they were going to be missed there, but they're blending in. They're fitting in very well at Nowlin right now.
Thank you.
And those are good points. We need to stay on top of those issues to make sure we're fiscally responsible.
Well, it's always difficult besides the fiscal, but there's always these unintended consequences that none of us think of, and then afterwards we think, why didn't we think of that? So, I mean, that's the point. Trustee Bazey points out to me that you're not exactly a dictator. You're the type of person who gets the best out of people, and the way to do that is people thinking it through, challenging, and I'm glad that you've used that process. So.
Yeah, it was good timing for everything with the bond and all the other changes we made at Nowlin. So
great.
It just was perfect timing for us to move the program. We've been wanting to do it for a very long time.
Good. Oh, good.
Actually, I called him a dictator.
Oh. Stand corrected.
So can I bring up one other point? And this is, again, it's just editorializing. One of the things we passed was Michigan Energy Consortium, where we buy energy.
What was the one I thought we needed a roll call on?
13 and 15.
Yeah, I don't think we need one on that. We don't need one, but I think that, and I don't know the reason, because I just haven't done the background reading, but I understand that some in the state legislature, I don't know, maybe they've got friends in the utility business. I don't know what it is, but they want to change that, and we've saved $4 million. So do you know what is the purpose of the proposal to eliminate that?
You know, I mean, they're looking at taking control from what I've seen. I actually contacted through, I couldn't get through on the phone, but through email, the chair, to kind of to talk to them and say, look, we have saved that amount of money and we want to have choice. And I know Jeff Burek has been out there and they've looked and chopped and saved significant amount of money in the last 13 years. All the Wayne County district superintendents have also, for the most part that I'm aware of, have come on board and said, taking away this choice is not beneficial to any of us. So I don't really know the motivation for that per se, other than it was brought forward and they're looking to take away our choice. I've articulated that to Representative Deraney too, that we like the choice with this legislation.
Well, I know also that we as voters approved a goal for ourselves to convert ourselves from dirty energy to renewable. So not everybody is crazy about that. Some people want the cheapest possible rather than the long-term view. So I don't know whether it's related to that, but I'm concerned, having been in highly polluted places, the right to breathe and clean water are critical things, and energy, is important and has long-term effects on that. So I hope that we, as the education community, can beat back any effort to change that, but people will need to be vigilant about it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Go back to 13.
13. Move that a board study session be held on Monday, December 9th, 2015, at 6 p.m. in the Frank Franchi Boardroom at the Administrative Service Center. The purpose of the meeting, which is open to the public, is for board technology training session.
So moved.
Support. Sorry, I'll wake up.
Support.
And this is for our paperless process that we're going to be implementing second semester at board meetings, so, or paper reduction.
Great. I
December
hope I
9th.
won't be too stressed about the technology of us all.
Is December 9th a Monday?
Yes, it's prior to a board meeting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that's.
Yeah, it is. It's prior to a board meeting.
You sure you're going to be able to train us all in 1 hour?
That was my concern.
I thought it was the 14th. The 9th is a Wednesday, unless my
Oh,
calendar.
you're looking at January.
Oh,
I just did the same thing.
okay.
Okay, can we get a roll call on that?
Yes, sorry.
No, I'm not.
You're right.
I'm not.
You know what? You're right. I
Yeah,
have
it can't be the 9th.
I have the 14th as the.
Yeah, it's the 14th.
You're right,
Board
it should be
meeting.
the 14th.
Oh,
Today's the
I
9th.
wondered about
You're
that.
thank
you.
Total idiot.
Well, thanks for saving us a
Close,
meeting.
but
Shall I
Good
reread
catch.
it?
Yes, please.
Okay. If I can find it, I'll reread it. Move that a board study session be held on December 14th, 2015, at 6 p.m. in the Frank Franchi Boardroom at the Administrative Service Center. Purpose of the meeting, which is open to the public, is for a board technology training session.
so
We have a
moved.
motion and we have a support already, so we need a roll call.
Okay, so, Bazey.
Here or there? Yes.
There.
Everywhere.
Lane, yes. Mead.
Yes.
Petchikoff.
Yes,
McDonald.
Yes, I'll be there.
whatever day.
All right.
Meeting since 5.
Yeah, we have been here for a few hours. Okay, great.
Next item, please.
15, expulsion of Fordson High School student. Move that the Dearborn Board of Education, having heard and considered the evidence in the case of a Fordson High School student, shall be permanently expelled from Fordson High School and the Dearborn Public School District for 108 for the duration of the 2015-2016 school year.
So moved.
Support.
May I have a roll call, please?
Bazey.
Support.
Lane, yes. Mead.
Yes.
Petchikoff.
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Next item.
Discussion item, 30-minute time limit, and I think there are none. Acknowledgement of correspondence. None?
I have received a couple of phone calls and a couple of correspondence from parents in the district. Anyone else?
No. We have an invitation from Lori School and a newsletter, yeah, from Dearborn High School. But an invitation to the Lori
the Veterans Day on
which they've
Wednesday.
held for the last
Yep.
plus or minus 60, 70 years or something like that. So that's at 9 a.m. on November 11th.
9 a.m.?
Yep.
This Wednesday.
Yep. Proceed.
Next, please.
Board of Education business, board member committee, and organization reports. The policy committee met and did approve the graduation of a student, the waiving of a test that we require. And his or her, I don't remember, reason for not taking the test was that the student proceeded from 10th grade to credit recovery, and they will be taking another test, so there is no point in making a student delay their graduation and needlessly take an exam. So that was approved and that was voted on tonight. So we're happy to have that completed.
I think they weren't able to take the test when they should have taken it, and then and so
they didn't
but
qualify
they caught up.
to
They
take
didn't
it.
qualify to take it,
Right.
but they did everything they needed to do to catch up. But now it would just stand in the way of graduating on time. So we wanted to waive that requirement.
And we had another meeting, but
Finance committee meeting, and I think there was a presentation on what we had discussed, so no need to go over that again. But I think overall, we're in a good position and we're continuing to get better, and so that's, I think, a good thing for the entire district to be aware of, and we're continuing to be vigilant that we're spending every dollar wisely and we're paying attention to the numbers.
if the state would just let us do our thing, we'd be.
And if they'd stop, if they'd give us the money we deserve.
Absolutely.
And we're going to continue to try to add to that fund balance, but by balancing, though, the services we need to provide now with the students, and that's a constant balancing act. And also, as I think Trustee Lane mentioned, with road funding and other things, we have to monitor the state budget, so we're going to continue to do that as well.
And that's why the energy thing just seems so off base to me.
It makes, yeah,
it makes no sense.
We'd have to find out what the motivation is behind it.
Lining somebody's pockets, but that's just my guess.
Well, I hope not.
I hope not, too.
I won't point fingers.
Anyone else? No, next item, please.
Board member commentary.
I just wanted to thank Dr. Maleko and all of our public schools. Last week, City Beautiful Commission had their all-schools breakfast where we bring our junior commissioners in to take the oath of office, like all of our commissioners who are appointed. They take the official oath and become officers of the city. And Dr. Maleko had his first-time experience of sitting through many pictures with the mayor and myself and all of the schools in the Dearborn area. And I just appreciate everybody getting up extra early. We start at 7 o'clock in the morning. And but everybody enjoys a nourishing meal and gets back to school pronto as soon as we can get them back out the door. So I just wanted to thank everybody for participating.
Thank you. It was a great event. You did a great job with the commission.
I've been doing it
and
for a
having
long
everybody-
time.
And I learned to just go where they want you to stand during the pictures. Right?
He got the rules in play here, where you stand.
Follow directions. Anyone else? Trustee
Just
Bazey?
something quick. I know that Dr. Maleko had mentioned the, I guess, little podcast that they did. I'm sorry, not the podcast, the, I don't know.
Oh, the video? The video?
The video, yes.
Superintendent, the new video show?
Superintendent video
Yeah.
show, sorry. I watched it the evening that I received it, and I think it's great for people to watch. It's fairly short, not that long. It was about 15 minutes, but it gave a lot of good information, and it gave parents an understanding of what was happening on that particular topic. And I'm looking forward to those, continuing to watch those, and I would urge the residents of Dearborn and parents to watch those as well. So.
Thank you. And we plan to do 2 a month, so that's on different topics of interest in the school district. So.
I agree. It was well worth the 15 minutes I spent watching it.
Yeah.
And
Good
it
job,
gives
Amy, too.
gives a philosophical perspective of why we're a lot of times you hear from people in the community say, why are you doing that, or I don't understand. So this way I think they get a little bit clearer perspective.
Anyone else? Trustee Lane?
Oh, I'd just like to say that I appreciate the National Walk and Bike to School Day. Unfortunately, we only have one day when it's official, but anybody, it's an old-fashioned activity that should be more common. I see more bikes riding around when I'm out and about, and I'd like to encourage everybody to do it as much as possible. That's the basis of our neighborhood schools, is so that students could walk or bike to school. So I'd like people to use that as much as they can, and we should all encourage it.
And actually, that's part of our Healthy Dearborn Coalition. Dr. Mead and Trustee McDonald and myself attended a meeting last month, and there's another one coming up this month. And one of the big pushes is how do we get everyone in our community to be more active in healthy endeavors. And we've had this dilemma every year at our schools, which are walk-to schools. That's how they were built. That's how they were configured in the neighborhoods, to get parents to be encouraged to get their children to school by foot power and not by automobile. So it would ease the congestion, the air pollution, and provide a healthy start to the day. So we just have to continue to grow that spirit.
The next meeting for that health,
November 17th.
November 17th, 8 o'clock at the Performing Arts Center. Anybody wants to join us?
Anybody wants to join us?
Be my guest.
Anyone else? Next item, please.
Requests for information and/or future agenda items. Looks like there's one.
All right.
I have a couple.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Trustee Lane.
But there is the response to bullying up on the
Yes,
screen,
that's
and I noticed in reading some of our board briefs that some of our parents have issues with recognizing what is bullying, what is by not bullying by definition. So I was thinking maybe we do presentations to our students on bullying. Maybe we should have a presentation for our parents. Not every unkind word is bullying, and people need to keep a good perspective. So maybe a presentation for our parents, maybe that would be a good idea. So can think about it for the future.
Agreed, it would be good.
Another thing that I'd like to have statistically is we see some movements within our schools. We saw it in one of the meetings tonight. So I'd like to know what our statistics are district-wide, perhaps year-end, on school of choice and boundary exemption. So how many students are moving where and possibly for what reasons? May I proceed? I still
Sure.
have one more.
Sure,
One
sure.
other thing that I was talking to some staff people about is, and I did discuss this with Dr. Chokol, I was taught a really good lesson by a principal who had been taught a good lesson by one of his lunchroom ladies when a bus arrived late, and he said, "Come on, kids, get going, you're late for class." Unfortunately, in our country, a quarter of our children in the United States are growing up in poverty and don't have enough to eat. They depend on their school meals. So I said to Dr. Chokol, I've had staff members saying they should be given their meal. And I hope that they're not being rushed if they're late to school, because it's important for them to have not just a graham cracker, but, and I don't know the specifics. I know that they're different meals at different, or maybe it's different depending on whether they're at a satellite school or whether they're at a different school. But I would like to say that I think that we have to make sure that our kids get the food that they need. And I think that our community needs to think about why we can't make sure that every child in America has enough food. It's very troublesome that staff members are, and I know some people who have said to me that they have families that they'll sometimes give a Meijer card or a grocery card to because people can't buy food. So it's a tragedy, and we as a society shouldn't have children. We shouldn't have anybody who's hungry in the United States. We're a wealthy enough country, so I ask us why we're not doing this. But as a district, we shouldn't be rushing our kids off without their breakfast or their lunch. So.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know some schools are actually taking it upon, they have something called Blessings in a Backpack, so they send food home over the weekends. But we'll look into you know, if this is happening, we'll make it clear that, you know, children are to eat in the school if buses are late.
And, you know, anyone who does do those type of things, when people who are giving to other people, you know what you're doing. We don't always know what you're doing, but you do it for the right reasons, and you make a better society, a better place when you do that. So it's deeply appreciated. The rest of us have to think about what we need to do to make sure that can't be a system-wide solution. A teacher giving a family a $20 grocery card. Every family should be able to afford food. So.
Thank you. Anyone else? Next item.
Superintendent's reports, personal commentary.
Okay, I'll keep it brief. I just wanted to mention that the goals that the board has reviewed and approved are on my blog. They went out yesterday, and so they're available for public view, and those are goals that were aligned with the strategic plan, and we'll be working on them all year. Cabinet, all of my meetings with the executive cabinet is aligned with those, and we're going to work on them throughout the school year, and we'll have a mid-year meeting or report for the board probably in February. And then the only other thing I wanted to mention is, I guess I want to thank everybody here. I mean, it's late. You mentioned, you get here at 5, and we're all here dedicated and not, I want to thank the board. The board comes, you work, or you have other things going on, you come here, we're in several meetings, and I know there were important topics here that had to be discussed. Cabinet, we have cabinet members, we have community members, and why are we all here supporting education and doing the right thing, despite the fact that it is, a long day. So I want to just say that I appreciate everybody here in this room today, and also for those of you at home that are still up watching and monitoring us and making sure that we're doing what we need to do and holding us accountable and holding me. So I just wanted to say that I'm grateful to be here and a member of Dearborn Schools, and thank you for your time and dedication.
Yes, Trustee Meany?
Thank you. I would like to bring up the topic about your goals. I think they're fantastic, but I'm wondering if the board shouldn't approve them, because it's part of strategic plan.
Mm-hmm.
So the board should be dealing with vision, mission, and strategic plan, and they're your goals, but I think they should be the board's goals. So I'm just wondering if we shouldn't. I'm interested in what you have to say, everybody, but it just seems to me like we should approve those goals. What do you think?
We're starting pretty soon the strategic planning process.
Yes.
And I think that the superintendent's goals for the district and our feedback are entirely appropriate to go into that.
I think the reason why I'm saying this is because I think it gives Dr. Maleko an opportunity to have board support for the goals that he has established and his crew, his cabinet. And I just think we should do that.
So like a formal motion?
Yeah, I think so.
We can do that. He shared them with us.
I
and
know, we
discussed
all
them,
love
so-
them, but I think it's
issue with
critical that we do something as a board to show the community that we think those goals, we're representing the community, and we think that those goals are valuable.
Well, I was planning on at the December meeting, one of the presentation topics would be, I want to keep it brief, but it's going to be on the goals because I know we discussed it at the study session. So the next board meeting would be appropriate for us to put an action item if the board so desires.
I don't know, what do you think?
Well, the one thing is if we have a presentation on something, we usually wait for the next
Right.
meeting to approve it. So if we have the presentation in December, then we should put it on the January meeting.
But it was already discussed in a meeting, though. So isn't that the stipulation is that it has to be discussed prior to, not necessarily the meeting before?
I guess my only thing is I certainly support the goals. I'm just thinking in terms of a strategic plan. I guess I support the goals, I support the superintendent. Would we be, you're saying to adopt them as our goals, as the board's goals?
No, approve his goals. It's because they come from the strategic plan. He has developed the goals relative to the strategic plan. And he's made sure that they're SMART goals, they're measurable, they're achievable. But it just seems to me like we haven't approved, we approved a strategic plan, but we haven't approved the goals that allow him to know what his work is.
And his evaluation is related to that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And the same thing would be the case at the college as well.
I guess, I have no problem with that. I was just trying, I guess I
Well, it doesn't
didn't quite
upset you, does
understand.
No, I mean, I think the main reason I was going to present, because we did discuss them in depth, but that wasn't televised. So I was thinking a presentation at the board meeting would also show the public, just as it went out the blog. But I don't have any,
Okay.
I'd be fine if the board,
I have no problem with, I mean, I think we've all discussed it in detail and talked to
Okay.
you about what your goals are, so.
And you've shared them.
shared and put
Shared
on.
them. and put them on the
Clearly,
blog
we
in
wouldn't
there.
be supporting what was going on if we hadn't already communicated that,
Right.
you know.
I'm just trying to strengthen his position.
Sure, appreciate it, thank you. And I do want to mention, and I know it's long, but the the superintendent's student advisory committee did get a glimpse of them as well. So before it went public, after you all viewed and modified, I just felt like it was something neat to share with them first, prior to putting out public, other than with cabinet members. So I think it was kind of they felt honored by seeing the goals, even though they were, I don't know, it took them a while, I think, to get through all of them. But
Did they want to add more snow days too?
oh, yeah, so we'll see at the next meeting what.
All right, next item, please.
Next item, future meeting dates?
Yes.
Trustee
Mon-
Lane, before you start, December 9th is listed twice there. It should be the 14th.
December, yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
Fortunately, our adept secretary, Ms. Palmer, caught that and reminded me.
Okay,
Yes.
good.
Future meeting dates, Monday, November 16, 2015, HFC meeting, 7 PM at the Andrew Mazzara Services and Conference Center in the Rosenau Boardroom, Henry Ford College. Monday, December 14, 2015, P12 study session, 6 PM at the Administrative Service Center in the Frank Franchi Boardroom. Monday, December 14, 2015, P12 Board of Education meeting, 7 PM in the Administrative Service Center in the Frank Franchi Boardroom. Monday, December 21st, 2015, HFC meeting, 7 PM at the Andrew Mazzara Services and Conference Center in the Rosenau Boardroom, Henry Ford College.
We are adjourned.